Before this video starts, I would like to propose a challenge to you, dear viewer. I want you to count the amount of times that he says the word like. I want to play a game with you, particularly a drinking game. That is, every time you feel that it is appropriate to tell the person who made the video who we are going to be responding to today and say, cope, seethe, mauled, or didn't ask, you take a drink. Don't actually do that, you'll die of alcohol poisoning. But now that I've sent half my viewer base to the hospital, the video that we are going to be responding to today is called The Darkness of Media Criticism, Anti-SJW Creators and You. You should be able to tell from this title exactly what sort of video this is going to be, but I won't spoil it for you. We're just going to get into it, because this person gets into some interesting points. And by interesting, I mean, I'm gonna be playing this at 1.5 speed, so you don't get bored like I did. As always, do not harass, dox, or dogpile anyone in particular, and do not just take my word for it. Go watch this video by yourself, if you believe that I misrepresented something, or if you believe that I cut out something that may have been important. Thank you, and let's begin.
I've made videos thousands of times. Like, I have created channels many times and deleted them in a heartbeat because of certain factors that I just don't want to get into.
Don't care, didn't ask, cry about it, stay mad.
Okay, so this is a great start. He's created countless channels, as he puts it, and then deleted them in a heartbeat. Now I have to wonder why exactly he has done that, and why he deletes them in a heartbeat. Take note of what he's about to say, because it's very revealing about the rest of this video.
I've been through many phases in video making, in, I guess, like, internet exploration, that I'm not proud of. I've had a lot of takes, and I've said a lot of things that I know were stupid, and some of which were manufactured to be more, I guess, like, palatable is the word I'm looking for.
Oh, fucking yay. 25 seconds to say you've edited shit to make yourself look better in the past. Ain't that lovely? He does this throughout the whole video, and I'm not going to be responding to absolutely everything, but I just wanted to leave this here for the sake of context. But you notice how he's presenting the things he's done in the past in a very whitewashed sort of manner. How he's taking extra long to come up with the best possible words to say things that are really simple. It sounds really formal and polite, and I bet $5 that he's gonna be presenting shit that's really fucking stupid in this manner to make it sound like it's better than what it actually is.
There's a certain cynicism, film criticism, there's a certain cynicism of critiquing things that you're passionate about and offering your input on things you're passionate about that I don't think has ever been present ever before in the time that I've been looking at this shit and analyzing it or whatever. And maybe it's been around for a long time and I've just never noticed, but I feel like now especially certain people and certain groups, and even people like me to a degree, have cultivated an environment where people can't talk about the things they want to talk about anymore without being judged vehemently and given labels that they aren't deserving of, like, all the time.
Breaking news! In a conversation, someone may disagree. If you say or believe in a certain thing, then you are going to be judged for saying and believing in said certain thing. If I started this video by saying that the Earth is flat, then you would judge me for believing that the Earth is flat. In equally shocking news, every 60 seconds in Africa, a minute passes. However, there is one point here that I actually do have to agree with, the labeling. I cannot tell you how many times I have been talking about things only to be labeled racist, transgender confederate, homophobe, transphobe, that's the funniest one, among other labels. And when presented like this, in this vague manner that he did, I have to say that I agree, but it's presented in a vague manner, so I think we can see where this is going to go. But regardless, despite the bad start, I still hold out hope that he will make some good points that I can point to, and then I'll just criticize the bad ones. I'm gonna be disappointed, aren't I?
There are people like Geeks and Gamers, there are people like The Critical Drinker, there are people like Ryan Kinnell, there are people like Nerdrotic, there are all of these, like, media critics, quote-unquote, that...
Hold up, media critics, quote-unquote. What exactly are you leading into here? I'm gonna pretend to know/care who half these people are, but, they're not IGN, so I don't know why you had to add the quote-unquote there. Guess we'll find out!
Look at, like, things from their childhood that they're passionate about, that gave them security back in the day because of certain things that were in it, and they were kids that gave them, like, security over themselves in a way.
My dear friend, stop pausing and get to the fucking point. But you see where this is going. You see how he started this and where he's proceeding. People can't talk about things they're passionate about without X happening to them, he said. So here's a list of critics that I'm going to refer to as quote-unquote critics, highlight that they're passionate about it, and then directly imply insecurity. One thing I'm passionate about, just for the sake of transparency here, is Sonic the Hedgehog. I love Sonic the Hedgehog. I grew up with Sonic the Hedgehog. The last thing that comes to my mind when I think about why I liked / still like Sonic the Hedgehog is security. So yeah, a minute after he said that people who are passionate about things can't talk about things without being labeled is already indirectly implying that people are insecure for, you know, criticizing things. Don't you find that weird? Don't you really just find that weird how he had to go to security instead of just going to they liked it because it was cool?
Because of, like, the white male lead being on screen and, like shit like that, and now that these properties are becoming more inclusive and more all-encompassing, or at least an attempt is being made, and now they are having that power taken away from them.
Now do you see why he had to go to security? No, they're not criticizing these because it's brute-forced identity politics. No, they aren't criticizing it because now instead of an established character we have a diversity hire. No, they aren't criticizing it because the new creators are just ignoring what was already established in order to push their political agenda. No, they don't like it because all they care about was the white men that gave them security, and now the lack of white men is making them insecure. Hey there, TSV, you are talking to someone who is 2 out of the 4 letters on the rainbow flag. I did not like Abby in The Last of Us 2 because her character makes no goddamn sense, and is not only obviously there just to fill a diversity quota, but because she makes no goddamn sense within the context of the universe. According to your logic right here, this should be impossible. Also, to apply more of your own logic, how dare you criticize me and other people who are passionate about things and just want to talk about things? Because now, you're judging us for it. You're judging us for it without even knowing what the actual arguments are. This is one thing that I absolutely hate about identity politics. It's the fact that when people point to a certain character that is not white, a lot of people will simply presume that they are criticizing it because this character is not white or is not male, leading them to make absolutely ridiculous arguments like this. And even though this guy talks so slow that I have to cut and speed things up constantly, he somehow failed to realize the ridiculousness of saying that people like their childhood stuff because it gave them security, or that it's kind of ridiculous to generalize that people don't like these new diversity hires just because said diversity hires aren't straight white men. I'm gonna prove TSV right, and I'm gonna label him, and we're not even halfway into the video yet. I'm gonna label him as a logically fallacious idiot. But let's keep going.
And because of that, that has led to various dog whistles and various rhetoric being implemented that could possibly sound more palatable to the average person that is just there because, like, they were unsatisfied with the product.
Rhetoric is implemented to sound better to the average audience. He says while unironically saying that people don't like it because they're racist and don't have their white male leads to provide them security. You'll notice that I have avoided calling him an SJW so far, and I will continue to avoid to because it isn't exactly necessary. And that is because his points are so absolutely ridiculous and so fallacious in nature that labeling him as such is just a waste of breath. However, they just don't like it because they're straight white men line of reasoning is very SJW of you.
Like with this Star Wars stuff, like, people were, like, older fans anyway, were just simply, I guess, unsatisfied with how, like, certain characters were treated in the trilogy. And because of that, and because they were looking for, I guess, an outlet to vent their frustration, and because they were looking for like-minded people, they see these YouTubers talking about this shit and immediately gravitate toward them because, like, that's something I've kind of learned. It doesn't really matter how extreme a person is. It doesn't really matter how bigoted a person can be. As long as they have, like, a quality a person can relate to, even if it's something as small as, like, the fact that they love to draw, or, like, something like that. Like, if they present that to a person, and, like, they can relate to that on, like, a fundamental level, like, emotionally and I guess mentally too, it is a lot easier to, I don't want to say groom them, but, like, I guess manipulate is a better word, or, like, coerce people into, like, accepting their form of content.
And here we have the fucking labels again. How dare you label me, TSV? I'm just talking about something that I'm passionate about, and you're labeling me as a bigot. Sitting through this shit unedited, just to then edit it later and respond to it without fucking falling asleep is a nightmare. Ignoring all the likes and pauses and repetitions, I am going to try to summarize his argument as best as I can. People were not happy with the product, and they found YouTubers talking about the diversity hires and therefore were coerced into the line of reasoning that he just declared to have existed, that they, were unsatisfied because there were diversity hires. So, I have a very small question for you, TSV, a very minor question, just for you. Why were they unsatisfied in the first place? And why, in the name of holy pride, did you just unironically call everyone who was unsatisfied with the Star Wars stuff, as you put it, an idiot? They didn't like it, but they didn't know why they didn't like it, so when someone told them it was because there was a black female, they disliked it, and decided that they disliked it because there was a black female present. And that's assuming that said critics who the people migrated to disliked it because there were diverse casts. Diverse in things that don't matter, by the way, like race and sexuality. Not diverse in the things that do matter, because these casts are usually very undiverse because they're all pretty shit. No, TSV here just proclaimed that these critics, quote-unquote critics, just didn't like it because diversity and bigotry. And this, my dear viewers, is why we can't actually talk about the things we're passionate about. It's because of brain-dead people like this who want to shove in identity politics no matter the circumstances, and who will make shit up about the people who they are criticizing in order to sound better, even though TSV specifically said that this was something that he did in the past and wanted to avoid now. So, let's check our little list here. Labeling bad, but he's been labeling other people. Can't talk about things that we're passionate about, but if you disagree about the politics, then you're a bigot. Indirect accusations of insecurity, a lot of straw man arguments, and a lot of likes. Golly gee, I wonder why you've had to delete all of your fucking channels in the past, and I wonder why people can't fucking stand to have a conversation with you, TSV. It is a fucking mystery. Also, I can't believe I missed this while editing, but he says that as long as they do something that people can relate to on a fundamental level, like drawing, they are subject to being coerced. Can you guess who is a vegetarian and also like to draw? I mean, seriously, this guy is unironically saying that people who are vegetarians and who love to draw are easily coerced into fascism.
I've noticed a lot of these people too have like two separate like fan groups. You have the younger crowd who are much more like naive. Some of them are like emotionally vulnerable or mentally vulnerable and are looking for answers in a way. And this doesn't even just apply to like people who talk about fiction. It also applies to like straight up political content creators and like shit like the Red Pill community or the MGTOW community and things like that.
My god, my brain is slowly fucking melting. Half of them are just a bunch of naive people. They're just looking for answers. They have mental issues. Hey, do you think that Rey Palpatine in Star Wars is a Mary Sue character because she's already perfect at the things that other characters took ages to master? Good argument. Unfortunately, the real reason you don't like it is because she is a female and because you have mental issues and because you're naive. Also, what the fuck is he talking about when he says the Red Pill community? Is this something that I'm missing? Am I out of the loop here? Is there a community of based and red-pilled people? He calls these people bigots. Now, I am not so sure. I don't have a dictionary next to me, but please remind me about the definition of what a bigot is. Let's move on and pretend that TSV doesn't actually perfectly fit this fucking category. I wouldn't want to label him. After all, I don't want to follow this fucking idiot's example. Jesus Christ, this video's so shit.
And then you've got like the older crowd who are much more seasoned, and some of them are jealous of the fact that certain people have more freedoms than them now, and they want to like live out that freedom but never got to because of childhood and etc.
I would tell you to listen to this again so you can realize by yourself the monumental stupidity of what you just heard. I would, but I don't want to subject you to that painful torture. First, you have a crowd which is more seasoned. Okay, I'm sorry. People who have been bitching about the declining quality in movies aren't fucking war veterans. Thank you for the terminology, but no. I'm a 2016 veteran. Chatelet, motherfucker. Second, who are jealous? A nice one there. So people who don't like this sort of shit, who don't like identity politics, are just jealous. But jealous of what? Well, thankfully he told us, because third, that some people have... Wait. More freedom than they do. I heard that right, didn't I? TSV just said that the people who are upset at this stuff are jealous because other people have more freedom than they do. Let me repeat that. TSV claimed that the people who he's referring to are jealous because other people have more freedom than they do. Do I have to explain what that implies? Oh, well, it's TSV we're talking about, so yes, I do have to explain that. He just directly stated that the people who are upset at these diversity hires and who are not getting represented anymore are upset because other people have more freedoms than they do. This directly means, and must, by default, logically extrapolate to the logical conclusion that the people who are no longer being represented as much are being oppressed. That is what that line of reasoning leads to. Welcome to the based and red-pilled community, TSV. I'm happy to have you. You see why people don't take these SJW arguments seriously. When you are so unironically shoved so far up your own ass that you come out the other side with the armband, let's put it like that, of the side who you pretend to be facing off against. Let's just make this absolutely straightforward here. This guy's just malding at the fact that some people don't like the shit he does. So he has to come up with these made-up arguments of they're just bigots. They just don't like the fact that they no longer see white men. So they reduce the opposing argument far beyond the absolute minimum, make up opposing arguments to respond to, unironically do the exact same things that they accuse the imaginary other side of doing. Also, they can take the moral high ground, call them bigots, and call it a day. And anyone who comes forward and criticizes that is just a toxic bigot. And as a result of this, the very consideration that the basis from which they departed is wrong is unimaginable to people like this. Now, I'm not going to label him an SJW, but just like an SJW, he is going to repeat himself multiple times here, and there are still 11 minutes left in this fucking video, so I'm just gonna start skipping shit a lot because he repeats himself. Because in true SJW fashion, the more you repeat yourself, the truer it becomes.
Or they're just like the YouTuber, and are just insecure with the fact that power dynamics are shifting and their type of person isn't the most important person in the world anymore. Well, it doesn't matter what they say, because at the end of the day, they have relatability with their audience. They have, like, that thing going because they have attached themselves to, like, comics and TV and, like, all this fiction that they know people love in order to spread their ideas about people. Because if you can find, like, an easy outlet to funnel your ideas through, then it's a lot easier to convince people, as I said, because you've tied what you are spouting to something they love and they enjoy, and you've corrupted that and turned that into, like, a weapon against people.
You argue in such bad faith that it is actually difficult to comprehend the sheer scale of it. I skipped a lot there because it is incomprehensible babbling that leads to absolutely nothing. It is so bad that he argues in bad faith in both directions. Firstly, by claiming that some people are so stupid that as long as they see something that they like, they are going to side with it, even if it includes something nonsensical. And in the other direction, by saying that people who are criticizing this sort of shit taking place across many forms of entertainment and politics are just poisoning the debate by having something that people like and relate to in their videos while saying Sieg Heil or some shit. Do you like Elden Ring? Do you think I have a personality? If the answer to those questions is yes, then if I say Sieg Heil, according to this guy's logic, you are going to Sieg Heil with me. I know it's naturally retarded, but that's this guy's logic, and I use this example to highlight how fucking malicious this guy is. And his response on Twitter, where other people tag the creators he refers to, his response shows absolutely everything. Behold, he makes dumb fucking points in his videos. People tag the creators that he refers to, and his response is to portray it as people trying to harass and raid him. Even going as far as to accuse others of stalking, just because, in a screenshot, he showed people tagging the creators that he himself refers to when making the video. That's right, boys, we found another one. We found another fucking Acerthorn. This guy is so disingenuous and so naturally malicious in everything that he says that he somehow managed to extrapolate, hey, you referred to these guys, so let me tag them so they can see it, into they're stalking me now. Boys and girls, we have found another one. Another mold sniffer who can dish out criticism without making it coherent, but cannot take any of it. I have a bit of advice for you, TSV. It is a bit of criticism, not a dick, so therefore you shouldn't take it so hard.
Something y'all gotta remember is that, like, this shit started in 2016, or at least it hit its heyday in 2016. Anti-sjw content obviously was around since, I would say, 2013, 2014, even like 2012 to some degree. But like, it really started hitting its heyday in 2016 around the time of that year's election, which I would argue left us, at least in America, more divided in some ways than we are now, just in terms of, I guess, animosity towards each other, in terms of, like, ideology, things like that.
You know, I hadn't actually watched the full video before making that 2016 joke earlier. I didn't actually think that he would actually start mentioning 2016 Trump shit. Since he was desperately trying to toss out dates in order to sound informed on when anti-sjw content really started, I would go back as 2010. Because that's when being on Tumblr was still hyper trendy. And that's when a lot of the shit of diversity and inclusion and bigotry started to infect other forms of culture. But since he talks about the election and pretends that that was what divided people, allow me to just quickly make a very obvious and very basic comment. And that is, if it took an election for you to start noticing a divide, then the country was already divided, you were just not paying attention to it. I could go into a lot more detail in regards to this political nonsense that he is trying to link with his argument, such as by saying that yes, people are less divided now than they were before, but not in the way he expects. But I'm not going to, because I'm not a divisive race-baiting piece of shit, nor do I feel the need to throw as much shit at the wall as possible, hoping that something sticks. And that really is a good way to put it. I mean, how many of the generic accusations and insults has this guy gone through? I was going to try to count them all, have a little like counter, and have a little counter for all of the divisive and generic shit that he accuses other people of in the screen. But by this point in the video, I don't think it's actually necessary, because it is so constant that I think that even the people who are more on his side of the political aisle, hell, even people who do think that representation is a must rather than a suggestion, can very clearly see. And while my biases in regards to this discussion aren't exactly secret, I don't even have to pretend like I don't have them in order to show how absolutely ridiculous this is. It just makes a lot of people look bad. But it couldn't possibly get any worse than this, right? It couldn't possibly get any dumber. Yeah, what? I mean, he has thrown absolutely everything at the wall. He's called people racist, he's called people bigots, he's called people insecure, he's brought up elections, he has said that people can't think for themselves, he's said that a lot of the people who don't like diversity hires just have mental issues. What could possibly come next?
And it's so funny too, because you hear these idiots all the time say shit like, we're not political, we're not trying to force a political ideology, like, these leftists or whatever. It's like, yeah, you are, motherfucker. Like, all the time you talk about politics in every single one of your videos.
And why is it that fucking politics keep getting brought up, I ask you? Let's just ignore the fact that this guy has been overtly political throughout this entire fucking video. If people have to bring up politics in response to characters being race-swapped in their fucking shows and movies, then I think that's pretty well fucking justified. I mean, shit, buddy. What have you been doing this entire video? Oh, that's right, calling people mentally problematic, insecure, bigots who just don't like something because I'm a black person. While it is not political to say that, hey, this character is a white male, why is this character now a black female? It is most certainly political to do that in the first place, as it is political for you to be calling people racist bigots over it and idiots, while using your own political agenda and biases to justify that absolute nonsense, only to then hide behind the veil of, I have low subs and I do this for fun, look at these weirdos. Gee, I wonder why people don't react well to you calling them names. But unlike you, I can at least back up my statements with a source or at least a reasonable argument, yet disingenuous, mold-sniffing, malicious, inflammatory cunt.
The leftist agenda, like how conservatives are being silenced and like all this bullshit that at the end of the day doesn't even really matter. Like, we're all people here. Like, why don't you just let people express themselves and like do what they want? Like, why do you have to get on this high horse all the time?
You heard it here first, folks. The guy who just spent the last 9 minutes insulting you and your intelligence just because you don't like something, while disregarding every single point you may make and calling you a racist, is now appealing to emotion and saying that we're all people at the end of the day. Moreover, he is trying to say that you calling out your entertainment being infected by politics is you not letting other people do what they want. I mean, fucking really, you couldn't get any better than this. The hypocrisy shines so bright that I feel like I'm a Hiroshima resident in 1945.
And like, that's another thing I hate about these people too, is especially like people like the EFAP crowd, they use what people are interested in, and they use what people like and what they themselves like to undermine people and to make them feel bad about themselves.
EFAP uses things people like to make them feel bad about themselves, he says. Well, sorry for liking the stories and lore of the movies, books, and video games that I do enjoy, because now I'm a racist bigot according to you. And if I don't just accept the fact that this character that was this way for decades is now this way, then I'm just a homophobic, bigoted racist. Now, real quick, remind me again who it is that's supposed to be using things people like to make others feel bad?
The dude named Rags, like the co-host of the show, just kept like dismissing him at every turn and saying like, are you sure you want to continue? Like, you sound like you're struggling a little bit. Like, just saying condescending shit like that just shows that you don't actually want to discuss with people.
Lovely timing for me to get to this point, because TSV actually responded to me on Twitter, displaying this exact same behavior. You know, the behavior he's been showing this entire fucking video. For starters, you just name-calling and bottling their arguments into they just don't like the lack of white men. That's behavior that shows that you don't actually care to have a normal discussion with people. You know what also shows that you don't actually want to have an actual discussion with people? It's a response like this, where he cries about the people he refers to in this video probably seeing the video as a result of being tagged, and is already trying to classify it as stalking, harassing, and bullying. Oh, how fucking lovely. Also, I don't know the context of what clip he's referring to when it comes to Rags saying these things, but the point that I'm trying to make here is that this guy is a massive hypocrite, not that I'm actually trying to defend Rags or EFAP. I don't care about them, I don't watch them.
Why are we making this a contest? Like, I thought this was just a way for people to talk about the movies and shit that they like online. Why are we making tribes and groups out of this? Why are we trying to be superior to other people? And the scary part is, like, they try to gaslight you with that shit all the time. Like, if you try to tell them that they're being superior, if you try to tell them that they're being condescending, or you point out something wrong they've done, they'll say, like, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, like, you're just an SJW, or, like, you focus too much on drama, oh my god, the drama whores, like, it's like, shut the fuck up, like, your entire brand is based around having conflict with people and getting, like, funny clips out of something that somebody said that you don't like.
Hello, me again. I had a planned response for this part, but I felt it better now that I'm editing to just edit a little compilation just so you can see more or less what he's doing here.
Why are we making tribes and groups out of this? It's like, shut the fuck up, like why do you have to get on this high horse all the time? It's like, shut the fuck up, like, people can't talk about the things they want to talk about anymore and are just insecure. It's like, shut the fuck up, like, it doesn't really matter how bigoted a person can be. Why are we making tribes and groups out of this? It's like, shut the fuck up, like...
I hope that was satisfactory. Thank you, and let's proceed.
Where I know what these people want to actually say.
I know what these people want to actually say.
It's like, shut the fuck up, like why do you have to turn things that you personally dislike into a weapon to, like, hurt other people?
Yes, why can't we just enjoy books, movies, and video games without having politics shoved in because of diversity? You know, you've name-called people and insulted others and told them to shut the fuck up so much, you're starting to sound like me. But hey, I wouldn't want to label those racist, jealous bigots, now would I? So I'll just follow your example and say that these people do in fact not want to have an actual discussion by telling them to shut the fuck up.
It's like, shut the fuck up, like...
This video's gotten so dull and repetitive that I'm going to skip a large batch, so if you see a lot of stuff missing, that's why, and you can go check out the original video if you want. It's your fucking funeral.
Because now whenever those people try to talk about a movie that they don't like, whenever I try to talk about a movie that I don't like, and I talk about how I think a character was badly written or whatever, people will associate that with all of the bigots and assholes that talk about this shit to their brain-dead audience.
Oh, so you do want to talk about characters that are poorly written and not just judge them for their race? Oh, okay! That's fucking great! You mean you don't want to talk about the fact that they are this skin color, this gender, or this sexuality? And actually want to have a discussion about whether it's well written and a good addition to the show? Welcome to the bigoted racist camp you were talking about earlier. Because just as a reminder, a lot of people don't like these new political agendas being shoved into movies. People don't like this forced diversity because it is disrespecting the franchises and are usually very poorly written. But the problem is that they're called insecure racists who don't get to see any white men anymore. Dear viewer, can you think of someone who's been doing that for the past half hour almost?
Well, I don't like I don't hate the actress, I just hate how she was written. And it's like, come on, bro. Like, you're clearly using that as a dog whistle to throw hate this person's way.
Don't forget, guys, TSV actually knows what you really want to say. It's not you that knows what you really think, it's TSV. If you think a character is very poorly written, then I'm sorry, he knows better. He knows exactly what you're thinking. You're actually racist. He's got you now.
Because your audience wouldn't care, and I know why they don't do this. They don't do this because obviously they don't want to be like demonetized by YouTube, or they don't want to be like, they don't want their channel taken down. That's why it's out of fear. Because they are cowards. They are big pussies.
Interesting statement. Let me snap back a couple minutes.
People can't talk about the things they want to talk about anymore without being judged vehemently and given labels that they aren't deserving of, like, all the time. Because they are cowards. They are big pussies.
Yeah, I wonder why your immediate reaction to the people who you refer to in this video finding out about what you said in this video being as it was.
The fossils will erode away eventually, and once we do, we will have to pick up the pieces from their destruction, and that's gonna be an interesting time.
Thank fuck it's finally over. He made a point there that was vague and therefore could be applied to virtually anybody, including himself, so I just skipped it because I can't even be bothered anymore. I find it funny that he used the term fossils after all of this situation is over. You know, the situation with people being spicy in their takes. Said spice being, I don't like diversity hires for the sake of diversity hires. Because a fossil implies that something is already dead. No, it doesn't imply, it directly states that that thing is already dead. I will find it very interesting when these people look back in the future and look at their videos and see what they actually said and think about it for half a second, only to realize that they kinda sounded kinda fucking retarded, you know? The guy who was on his high horse telling people to get off their high horse, saying that name-calling and labeling is bad while name-calling and labeling. The guy who calls other people cowards while he cowers when he finds out that the people he refers to may find out about his video that he posted publicly. I really do legitimately wonder how he will look back on this in a year's time or 2 years' time. I don't know if people are going to be responding to this video or not. I just know I had to because it's so goddamn disingenuous. I just had to. I don't even know if this guy is actually mentally capable of realizing what's wrong with his points and his stance here. I mean, at the time of recording this right now, just before I pressed play, he on Twitter, and I hate bringing up Twitter because it's fucking shit and it's fucking Twitter because of course it is, but it's very revealing. But he on Twitter responds to a video where I do not name call and I simply try to apply his own logic by name calling me, saying that he would accept criticism if I didn't name calling, while responding to a message where I don't name call while name calling me. It actually does make me think whether some of these sorts of people can actually think for themselves for half a second. Because this video actually put that question out there, and it put that question out there very well. Can he even think? Because this entire video was just him tossing out the most generic accusations and insults possible in the modern day, with a very Swiss cheese-like logic, if you get what I mean. But yeah, that was the video. Did I misrepresent something? Did I miss something? Please leave it in the comments below. Let's have a discussion. And yeah, what did you think of this guy's video? What did you think of my response? Leave it in the comments below. And, of course, leave me the like counter. I know how many times he said like throughout his entire video. I know how many times he said like in this edited version of the video, but I want to see who figures it out first. And the first person to figure it out gets a heart and a pin. Thank you guys for watching, thank you guys for rating, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.